Live from WRAL News Headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
Heat advisory in effect now. Of course, we're looking at it feeling like 104 to 106 this afternoon. I'll let you know how hot it will feel each hour through the rest of the afternoon.
Millions of people from Texas to Louisiana are dealing with the aftermath of WRAL. Michelle McConaughey is in the WRAL Live Center with brand new numbers regarding the storm's impact.
Plus, our WRAL Investigates team is following up on a woman charged with killing her 2 adopted children. The state is now looking into how she was able to adopt children in several counties.
A heat advisory is in effect right now through this evening. Good afternoon to you. I'm Jeff Hogan.
And I'm Renee Chu. Thanks for joining us. It is a steamy afternoon, so be sure to take it easy with that triple-digit heat index out there. Elizabeth Gardner is out on the WRAL weather patio with a look at how hot it feels right now.
This is the 5th one that we've seen in just a matter of 2 or 3 weeks. So heat advisory in effect until 8 p.m., feeling like at least 106 in some places and maybe even a little bit hotter than that down in some of our southern counties. Let's take a look at our temperatures and heat index together. Temperatures on the left in the blue box and the heat index in the white on the right side. So it feels like 102 right now in Durham and Raleigh. It feels like 102 right now down in Clinton. It feels like 97 in Fayetteville, 100 in Rocky Mount and in Goldsboro, and 91 up in Roxborough. And temperatures right now are anywhere from the mid 80s to low 90s. And so we still have a ways to go. Our forecast high this afternoon is for 98 degrees. And so it is going to feel dangerously hot through the afternoon. And the Triangle, at least 106, potentially dropping back again as we get into the evening. But definitely a dangerous feel to the afternoon. Our actual high at around 3 or 4 o'clock is going to be around 97 to 98. We also have a small chance for thunderstorms. It's a 30% chance this afternoon. Nothing popping up just yet, but coming up in just a couple of minutes, we'll talk more about what our potential is for any rain this afternoon.
And happening right now in the WRAL Live Center, people in Texas and Louisiana continue to deal with the aftermath of WRAL. WRAL hit as a Category 1 storm in Texas yesterday. Difficult recovery and cleanup efforts are underway in Texas. This is video here. More than 2 million people are without power. That could take days or even weeks to get back. The storm unleashed flooding, rains, winds that transformed roads into rushing rivers like you see here, ripped through power lines and tossed trees onto homes, roads and cars. NBC News is reporting right now at least 8 deaths from WRAL. And much like we're expecting regarding these high temperatures, Texas also, they are anticipating that today as well, which can get very dangerous with these high temperatures and no power.
Michelle, thanks. New today, WRAL Investigates has confirmed the state is investigating how a woman accused of killing her children was allowed to adopt them. Avante Devon is accused of murdering and concealing the deaths of Blake and London Devon, 2 of her 5 adopted children. WRAL's Chris Lovingood joins us now with that story. Chris, what else did you learn?
Well, Renee, I asked the State Department of Health and Human Services if it would investigate how Avante Devon secured adoptions in Buncombe, McDowell, and Madison counties in western North Carolina. A spokesperson said, quote, yes, NCDHHS will partner with all counties to conduct a thorough assessment of decision-making that led to selection of Miss Devon as an adoptive parent, end quote. I also asked if Secretary Cody Kinsley would support a law change to require a DSS agency to perform check-ins with families of adoptive children post-adoption. I asked that because a former caseworker for the Devon family told WRAL exclusively she is advocating for this. The spokesperson didn't answer that directly, but instead said NCDHHS reviews and assesses policies to make sure changes happen when needed. One other question that I asked is whether Devon was still accepting adoption support money from the state when Blake went missing. That NCDHHS spokesperson said that the agency couldn't comment on a specific case. Avante Devon is slated for a court appearance next week, but the Cumberland County DA's office told me that's mostly an administrative hearing, Renee.
In about an hour and a half, the State Board of Elections will reconsider requests to add 3 more presidential candidates to the November election ballot. Down the ticket, the decision could affect major candidates' chances to win the state. WRAL NC Capitol Chief Laura Leslie is live at the Legislative Building with a preview of that meeting coming up. Laura?
Jeff, North Carolina election law makes it really hard for an independent presidential candidate to get on the ballot. The bar to get a political party onto the ballot is much lower. And that's what they can do is they get ballot access and then they put their candidate on it. Well, that's what the State Board of Elections is weighing. They have to decide in the next few weeks whether 3 parties have cleared that bar. Those 3 parties seeking to put presidential candidates on the ballot are the We the People Party with anti-vaccine activist Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the Justice for All Party with philosopher Cornel West, and the Constitution Party with anti-abortion activist Randall Terry. The State Board of Elections considered all these parties' petitions 2 weeks ago, and State Board staff confirmed that each one had the required signatures, but the board did not vote to approve any of the 3, saying that they needed more time to investigate how the signatures were gathered. Republicans pushed back, accusing the Democratic majority on the Elections Board of trying to protect President Biden by denying other candidates who might take votes away from him. Recent presidential elections in North Carolina, have been very, very close. In an unusual step, congressional Republican leaders asked the state elections board to provide documents explaining their decision, and Republicans here at the legislature ordered board leaders to answer questions before the State House Oversight Committee. That meeting was actually scheduled for this morning, but it was rescheduled after the election board called another meeting this afternoon to revisit that issue. And by the way, our WRAL news poll that we did this spring found that 55% of voters wanted another choice on the ballot this November besides former President Trump and President Biden. Laura Leslie, WRAL News, Raleigh.
A controversial church in Western North Carolina is hosting a campaign fundraiser today for Mark Robinson, who's running for governor. Leaders of the church called Word of Faith Fellowship have been accused of engaging in criminal behavior. This includes slave labor, financial fraud, and the sexual and physical abuse of children. Robinson has made speaking at churches a key part of his campaign for governor. His speeches have focused on his opposition to gay rights, abortion, and his support for traditional gender roles. Vice President Kamala Harris will be in North Carolina this week. She's expected to stop in Greensboro on Thursday for a campaign event. The vice president will also be making campaign stops in Las Vegas and Dallas this week. She's expected to be the keynote speaker at the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated's annual convention in Dallas. She's also a member.
And back here in the WRAL Live Center, Fifth Third Bank is in trouble. They'll pay millions of dollars in penalties after opening fake accounts and illegally getting vehicles repossessed. About 35,000 Fifth Third Bank customers were hurt by the bank's illegal actions. In order to meet sales goals, employees are accused of opening fake accounts in customers' names and falsifying records, all without customers' knowledge. They also allegedly forced vehicle insurance onto borrowers who already had it, then illegally triggered repossessions. Those borrowers paid about $13 million in fees. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has ordered the bank to pay those people back. They also fined the bank $20 million.
Michelle, thanks. This afternoon, we're seeing the damage inside a Rocky Mount jewelry store that was robbed. This is Gold Rush inside the Golden East Mall. Video the store shared with WRAL shows holes in the walls, a damaged safe, and equipment. Rocky Mount police say they are working with the FBI to find the people involved.
Child care centers across North Carolina are getting help to keep their doors open. Governor Roy Cooper signed off on more than $67 million to help after COVID-era subsidies ended last week. WRAL's Laura Levine explains child care providers still need more to make up for the loss in funding.
It was about 2 weeks ago when we saw child care advocates here at the General Assembly really rallying for that state funding, some even pushing for more funding for raises and bonuses for child care staff. Now, Governor Cooper has signed a bill providing emergency stoppage funding aimed at helping child care centers keep their doors open. The measure would authorize $67.5 million in state spending on child care subsidies. The emergency funds look to help as federal funding came to a stop at the end of June, but it's still far less than the $300 million many child care advocates wanted from the state. Some argue, as it stands now, this will create another funding cliff in December. This should at least buy lawmakers several months to work on a more permanent solution after failing to reach an agreement on how to spend a $1 billion budget surplus. In a statement, Governor Roy Cooper said lawmakers need to do much more by extending that grant funding through 2025. He also says our children's future and economy depends on it. Laura Levine, WRAL News in Raleigh.
A burrowing deer is how a paleontologist at North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences describes a bizarre new species of dinosaur. Photna, as it's known, lived 99 million years ago in what is now Utah. Scientists believe the 7-foot-long dinosaur lived in burrows along riverbanks in an ancient delta.
With Photna, because we know it burrowed and because its relatives have burrows that we can see, there's a lot of areas to investigate how this animal operated and what role it played in its environment. Video game software.
A team from the Museum of Natural Sciences and NC State announced that find today. The name Photna pays tribute to an indigenous myth from the island of Guam.
Fascinating. Next at noon, after a major surge in travel around the world the last few years, the growing phenomenon of over-tourism, the popular destinations being affected.
Also, a drawbridge in New York City got stuck open. What caused the malfunction and the ingenious way it got fixed?
Plus, a blind woman was dropped off at the wrong location by her Uber driver. Her calls for improved safety measures for all, but especially people with disabilities.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.
Now to an issue affecting communities around the world, from small towns to big cities: over tourism. Over the past several years, there's been a major surge in travel around the world, with some hotspots getting especially overcrowded with visitors. NBC's Emily Ikeda joins us now for a closer look at this phenomenon.
With summer travel soaring to record levels, some popular destinations are now trying to slow the surge of tourists.
Yeah, it's summer, but since when has Yosemite been this bad?
Look at America's national parks.
National parks are like the Disneyland of outdoors. They are super packed, super touristy.
More parks are having to require timed entry reservations this summer to ease congestion, like Mount Rainier, which saw a 40% increase in visitation over the past decade. As over-tourism has become a growing challenge across the country, residents in iconic destinations pushing back.
It gets busier earlier and earlier every single year.
Crowds like these have become the norm in Salem, Massachusetts.
It's really increasingly difficult to live in downtown Salem.
Now, the city of 45,000 is trying to scare some away with new $350 licensing fees for tour guides, a massive jump from the previous cost of just $10. Tour operator Beth Crowley insists the tours aren't the problem.
The tours are actually keeping people from wandering around.
It's all part of a larger travel boom. Travelers in the U.S. spent $1.3 trillion in 2023, producing an economic footprint of nearly $3 trillion.
And the impact of the pandemic on over-tourism was to accentuate it, because frankly, we want to travel now more than ever.
A boost that in some cases comes at a cost. Recently, thousands of protesters in Spain calling out mass tourism and its impact on local affordable housing. At Japan's magnificent Mount Fuji, there's a new fee and visitor cap. And even Venice, Italy, a tourist mainstay,
St. Mark's Square is super crowded,
is now charging day trippers to help thin out throngs of sightseers.
Every major country in the world is staring down the barrel of this issue. Too many tourists in the same place at the same time.
That was Emily Ikeda reporting. There are ways to better manage tourism by promoting more off-season travel, limiting numbers where possible, and having greater regulation within the industry.
There's another mechanical failure on a Boeing jet. A wheel came off a 757 as it was taking off from Los Angeles. This video shows that wheel bouncing down the runway at LAX on Monday morning. 181 people were on the United Airlines flight traveling from Los Angeles to Denver. The pilot was able to land that plane without incident in Denver. This is the second time in recent months a wheel has fallen off a Boeing jet operated by United. In March, a wheel fell off a 777 as it took off from San Francisco to a flight for Japan. All right, take a look at this. The drawbridge that connects Manhattan and the Bronx has reopened after getting stuck in the open position. The reason is the metal on the 126-year-old bridge overheated, which caused it to swell. Fire department boats were brought in to spray water on the bridge to try to cool it off. The incident caused major traffic jams during the evening commute, but no one was hurt.
We are in for some dangerous heat, and that's prompting a heat advisory. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner is out on the WRAL weather patio where it is steamy already.
It really is. That's crazy, that story about the bridge there between the Manhattan and the Bronx got too hot. Yeah, this heat is not anything to mess around with. You know, it seems like, okay, here's another heat advisory. And last time I was okay. Well, the thing about heat and your body is the impacts on your body are cumulative. So maybe you did fine the last few days, but eventually that heat may catch up with you. And so just don't take that chance. You know, stay inside as much as you can this afternoon. Heat index 104 to 106. I promise you, in between weather hits, I am moving right back into the air conditioning, so I'm not standing out here this whole time. Temperatures, again, on the left, it's 91 in the Triangle, but it feels like 102 when you figure in the heat index. It feels like 97 in Fayetteville, 104 in Clinton, 99 in Goldsboro, and 100 in Rocky Mount, where temperature there in Rocky Mount is 90. And so the reason that we're seeing a heat index about 10 degrees higher than the actual temperature is we have so much moisture in the air. You walk outside and it kind of feels like you could swim through this air. And because it is so humid, your skin, the sweat that you have develop on your skin can't evaporate into the atmosphere very well because there's already so much moisture in it. So, yep, it is another heat advisory. We average 8 to 9 of those per year. And then we average 1 to 2 excessive heat warnings. And we've already seen 2 excessive heat warnings. We saw that last weekend, last Friday and Saturday. And of course, last Friday we hit 106 officially at RDU, which broke the previous all-time record of 105. So it has been a hot end of June and first part of July. Certainly, we've already seen, including today, 5 days with heat advisory. So just be careful out there. 98 for the high in Raleigh, 101 in Durham, 99 in Fayetteville. Just going to be really hot out there and feeling like at least 105 for today and possibly tomorrow as well. So parts of the viewing area could be under a heat advisory again tomorrow. Our dew point is 75. It rarely gets above, say, 75 or 76. So this is, you know, it's July. It is the hottest, most tropical, kind of miserable air mass that we ever see around here. And it just continues all the way through until maybe even Saturday, Sunday into next week. We do see a cooler day on Thursday, but it's still going to be very moist out because we'll have some tropical moisture bringing us some rain, which will be nice to see. Speaking of rain, we're pretty quiet right now. I'm going to be watching for isolated cells to pop up when we check back in at about 12:45. It may be that there are 1 or 2, but nothing's quite popping up in our viewing area just yet. We do have a small chance of that as we get through the afternoon. You can see maybe 1 or 2 of those around Fayetteville at 5 o'clock, or maybe even up around the Triangle area. So not a lot of coverage out there, but it does go up. For tomorrow, we have no flood threat, but Thursday, our flood threat is green, and then it's yellow for Friday as we see more rain rolling through. Coming up, we're going to talk about how much we could see, especially Thursday and Friday together.
A lot of extended heat. All right. Thanks, Elizabeth. North Carolina's aging population is growing, and hospital systems are working to keep up. Coming up at 4, state and local health agencies share the strain they're seeing caring for geriatric patients.
Plus, the Federal Trade Commission filed a lawsuit against a bill pay service accused of deceiving customers, and they're citing WRAL's reporting. Coming up at 6, 5 on your side explains the dark patterns a company is accused of using that we first warned you about more than 2 years ago. Still ahead this noon, Walmart faces a class action lawsuit over deceptive pricing. How that issue came to light.
And disturbing findings about feminine hygiene products. The chemicals researchers say they found in dozens of these products and the negative impact they could have on your health.
Target is making a change when it comes to personal checks from shoppers, and there's a recall of some frozen chicken products underway.
Those are among today's business headlines with Maribel Aber.
More than 2,000 pounds of frozen chicken products are being recalled due to concerns over listeria. The chicken is from Alsafa. It was imported from Canada to the U.S. in June and distributed to stores nationwide. The recalled items have the establishment number 866 inside the Canadian mark of inspection. Recalled products include some halal charcoal grilled chicken items, along with some fully cooked chicken patties. You can find more details at the Agriculture Department's Food Safety website. Walmart is facing a class action lawsuit over its pricing practices. The suit from an Ohio shopper claims the retailer used inaccurate price labels. It focused on multiple items bought at an Illinois Walmart in 2022. The items were found to have markups of as much as 15% above the listed price. The suit says similar price discrepancies were found at other Walmart locations in Florida, New York, and elsewhere. A district court dismissed the case, but a federal appeals court has reversed that ruling, allowing the suit to proceed. Target will stop accepting personal checks as payment starting Monday, July 15th. The retailer says the move is due to the extremely low volumes of personal checks being used to pay in its stores. The Target has numerous other ways to pay, from credit and debit cards to cash and digital wallets and buy now, pay later services. The use of personal checks overall has been steadily declining. Checks made up just 3% of payments last year, down from 7% in 2020, according to data from the Federal Reserve Financial Services. And those are your business headlines. I'm Maribel Aber at the NASDAQ Market Site.
The future of an FTC ban on non-compete agreements for workers is unclear. This after a federal court ruling partially blocked the plan. The ban on non-competes was scheduled to take effect this fall, but a judge ruled the FTC lacks the power to adopt a broad rule banning practices it determines are unfair to competition. The FTC estimates nearly 30 million people are subject to non-compete agreements.
Months after a blind woman says an Uber driver dropped her off at the wrong location, she is calling for answers. Hear what they're demanding of the rideshare company coming up.
And now's the time to step up and help our local kids have a successful school year. We'll share how you can donate to the Tools for Schools drive. First, here's a look at the winning lottery numbers.
Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number one source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
In May, we shared the story of a blind Raleigh woman who was dropped off at the wrong location by an Uber driver.
Well, now she is calling out that rideshare company for a lack of response. WRAL's Sean Gallagher was first to share her story. And Sean, what's her life been like since that incident?
Yeah, for someone who's been so independent her entire life as a blind woman, Camille Richardson says her life has been upended by this. So now she's calling out Uber for having a driver drop her off here at the wrong location and demand they take action. Now, Richardson shared her story again with us during a press conference earlier this morning. An Uber driver dropped her off at a location of an apartment building about a mile north of where she was planning to go. Richardson says the driver walked her to a door here, knocked, and left, saying he had to take someone to the airport. Richardson, blind since birth, says it's the first time in her life she's felt so helpless.
The ability to be able to move through this world freely is just something I've always cherished and relished. But ever since this happened, I have always now been hesitant. It took me a month and a half to travel using any rideshare service alone. I refuse to go by myself. And that's never been me, never. But because of something like I just lost trust in the whole situation.
Now, here is what Richardson is asking from Uber. First of all, she wants a public apology, and she wants the driver to be terminated and there to be harsher punishments for these violators. She also wants Uber to partner with her company to have some sensitivity training for folks like her with blind disabilities, and also she wants them to create new technological safeguards to make sure nothing like this ever happens again. But her team tells me they're yet to get a response from Uber. Sean Gallagher, WRAL News, Raleigh.
New at noon, deputies arrested a Raleigh wrestling coach again. Authorities had previously charged him with indecent liberties. WRAL's Noah Klein is here now. Noah, deputies arrested him for something they say he did out of state.
Renee, these charges against Jared Lewis are out of Dane, Wisconsin. They're for first-degree sexual assault of a child under the age of 13. We told you back in February about a joint investigation between Raleigh police and the FBI that led to his arrest. A search warrant in that case says, as part of Lewis's enterprise called World Wrestling Tours, he would take multiple juveniles to wrestling tournaments and training overseas in Sweden or India. In early 2023, on one of those overseas trips, Lewis was accused of inappropriate conduct with wrestlers after parents started filing reports with local agencies concerning allegations that were similar. That arrest warrant also said Lewis would Facebook Live the wrestlers on trips, and he was observed by one of them with a cell phone in his hand while multiple wrestlers took a shower. Lewis is in the Wake County Jail without bond. Our Chelsea Donovan covered this case. She spoke with a parent whose son went on a wrestling trip with Lewis. That's on WRAL.com.
People in northern Wake County now have a new ICU to call home, and it's closer to their homes. Wake Med North is opening its new ICU today. The unit has 9 beds. The addition is expected to reduce treatment time and cut down on transportation barriers because fewer patients will need to be transferred to other area hospitals.
They don't have to follow their loved one to the ED and then pack up and go to Raleigh campus. They can stay here, and we can give them the care they need 24/7 and support the other services. It'll help our surgeons out who may have a sicker patient who needs the ICU overnight after a complicated surgery.
Wake Med officials say the new ICU is fully staffed with new hires.
Aetna will begin managing the state health plan next year. It will take over third-party management from Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina. Blue Cross argued the state unfairly tilted the scales in Aetna's favor during the bidding process. It had managed the plan for decades. A judge says Blue Cross could not prove its claim. About 750,000 people received health insurance through the state health plan. When you pick up a carry-out meal, you will now be able to get a cocktail to go along with it. Governor Cooper signed the bill into law yesterday. Any cocktails that are sold to go must be sold along with a food order. They can be no bigger than 24 ounces, and they must be sealed. The state first allowed restaurants and bars to do this during the pandemic.
All right, here's your chance to help teachers who have to spend their own money on supplies bought for their class. WRAL and Tools for Schools kicked off a donation drive today. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey explains how your donations can really make a big difference.
It may be tough to believe, but it's already time to start talking about going back to school. And you can see that sales are already happening here at this Staples on Wake Forest Road. And this is actually one of the locations where you can drop off school supplies for the drive. And teachers could really use your help right now. This year's supply drive comes after Wake County teachers protested in April demanding higher pay. Teachers say their out-of-pocket spending for school averages more than $900 a year. Now through August 26th, you can team up with WRAL and Tools for Schools by donating. Teachers need pencils, Post-it notes, notebooks, and more.
We encourage parents that when they're shopping for their own children, buying supplies, think about those that don't have that support at home. Their parents are not able to supply as they would need. There's an opportunity for them to be able to give back, to be able to help teachers.
To find a drop-off location near you or get more info about how to donate, just go to our website, WRAL.com, and search school supplies. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News in Raleigh.
Still to come, the disturbing metals found in many brands of feminine hygiene products. Ladies, what you need to know about the findings and the risks to your health. And coming up in 10 minutes, we'll chat with WRAL's Liz McLaughlin about her upcoming Olympic assignment. Before heading to Paris, the seasoned Olympic correspondent will talk with us about the exciting storylines and the athletes to watch for in the Summer Games. Our team is working to bring you exclusive stories. For coverage you'll find only on WRAL. Visit WRAL.com and search only.
Looking live right now at a steamy North Hills. There are some puffy clouds over there, blue skies right there, but boy, it's hot out there as you watch WRAL News, available on YouTube TV and the WRAL app on your TV or streaming device.
An estimated 72 million women in the U.S. have skipped or delayed a recommended health screening. That's because women spend more time being caregivers to others or have work or family obligations keeping them out of the doctor's office. Specifically, 41% of American women delayed or skipped screenings for breast cancer, 35% for cervical cancer, and 33% for colorectal cancer. Researchers say they've discovered lead and arsenic in 30 tampon brands sold in the U.S. and Europe. Arsenic has been linked to cancer, and lead can cause brain damage, learning disabilities, and reproductive issues. More research would be needed to determine whether the metals leak out of tampons. Researchers say the metals could have come from the soil through the plants used to make the products. The findings did not name the brands tested.
We have a new warning about a phishing scam targeting people's Apple IDs. A security software company says the attacker impersonates Apple and sends users a text message or an iCloud request, which then sends customers to a fake page. Criminals could then take user credit cards, passwords, and personal information. Apple advises setting up two-factor authentication. Americans appear to be more skeptical of the value of college. Only 36% of adults questioned in a newly released poll said that they have a great deal or quite a lot of confidence in higher education. Nearly 25% of respondents said they don't believe students are being taught what they need to succeed. Experts say the lack of higher education could mean lower lifetime earnings.
We are closing in on the start of the 2024 Paris Olympics. WRAL's Liz McLaughlin is getting ready for a trip to France. Coming up, she's joining me in studio with a preview of what we can expect from this year's games.
Plus, for the first time in decades, the United States has received some new panda friends. We are introducing you to the new giant pandas that will call San Diego home.
WRAL is your home for the Paris Summer Olympics, which is a little more than 2 weeks away. And in the past, WRAL has sent a team to cover the Olympics. I will never forget being in Rio for the 2016 Summer Games. This year, Liz McLaughlin will be the one to head to Paris. And she's here with me now, sporting some pretty cool Olympic swag. This is Team USA's uniform.
That's right. I'm a poser pretending I'm on the team right now. But Ralph Lauren has been the official outfitter for about 9 consecutive Olympics now, so since 2008, and this is the opening ceremony. It's a wool long sleeve blazer, which is an interesting choice for the Summer Games. You know, with the it's got the official Team USA patch right there, and then I also have the closing ceremony jacket. Check this out, sporty kind of moto look. I'm a big fan of this one, denim, and it's paired with like white denim.
Oh, I love this whole vibe right here.
All long pants and jackets for the Summer Games. We're going to see some sweaty athletes.
And a lot of red, white, and blue.
That's
Team
right,
USA,
classic.
Yeah, Team USA will be looking sharp. And some of those athletes, of course, will be from North Carolina or have North Carolina connections, and you'll be following those storylines. A lot of interesting athletes will be making it out there. Let's start with diver Andrew Capobianco.
And he's a repeat in Tokyo, got a silver medal in synchronized springboard. So really exciting. Holly Springs high school graduate, so close to home here. And he barely missed in that event, but will be competing in the 3-meter springboard. Just an interesting athlete, a perfectionist. You have to be in that diving event. And I thought it was kind of interesting. On competition days, he eats French toast, bacon, and eggs for breakfast. I thought it might be a protein smoothie or something.
Breakfast of champions for him.
Yeah,
my
exactly.
goodness. Yeah, and he got silver in the last Olympics and hoping maybe gold with this new partner that he has.
And he's had some challenges, you know, a knee surgery just in December, a back injury, but he said he feels stronger than ever going into Paris and hoping to bring home a medal again.
Okay, can't wait to see what he does there. We'll also see some North Carolina representation on the soccer field, starting with men's.
That's right, John. Luca Busio just announced this week on the men's roster. He was born in Greensboro, just a cool, calm player, so it'll be exciting to see him on the field. And first time men's soccer will be in the Olympics since 2008. Said he's feeling a little pressure there, but ready to perform. And on the women's team, lots of North Carolina representation, 3 of that 18-person roster. So we've got Casey Murphy, really passionate goalkeeper, plays for NC Courage. Erin Fox, this will be her first Olympic Games, and she's a UNC grad. I love to see that. I'm a UNC grad as well. And another UNC grad, Crystal Dunn, this will be her 3rd Olympics. Super versatile player that's fun to watch as well. So yeah, take a look at that women's team. Going to be a lot of North Carolina flags waving, I think.
We know you'll be closely following their Olympic journeys. This is your third time covering the Olympics. You were also in Tokyo and Beijing, and I know you know that this is, in a way, Olympic coverage is also its own sport. It's almost a marathon, isn't it?
Absolutely. It is just the most fun assignment, but, you just accept that you're just not going to be sleeping, and it's like every single day because you're doing live shots, 8 hours of them, but you still have to talk to the athletes and you want to see the events and you want to see the excitement. So I'm just so excited that this will be also a normal games. Of course, COVID was a big storyline in both China and Tokyo, and that was, it's hard to talk to athletes. No fans in the stands, very eerie. So
a lot of protocol and restrictions.
Yeah, I'm just excited to see fans around and to have that real Olympic excitement.
And really quickly, parlez-vous français?
Oui, je parle français un peu. J'aime les Jeux olympiques. I love the Olympics.
Fantastic. That was all the French I remember from high school. The Paris Olympics begin July 26th on WRAL. Liz will be in Paris bringing you live reports. Très bien. Merci.
Merci.
Liz. And safe travels to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Jeff.
I don't know what they just said, but I'm jealous. It sounds like a great time. And Liz leaves next weekend, so good luck, be safe. Can't wait for the reports. Elizabeth Gardner is, we're having our own hot Olympics outside right here on the patio, right?
Il fait très chaud. I think I said I'm really hot. I don't know. I hope I didn't say something that, But yeah, it's hot out here, that's for sure. We take a look at the gardens and looking pretty. Just lots of sunshine out here. I'm encouraging people to stay inside this afternoon, and then you see me standing out here. But in between me standing here talking to you, I am inside that door over there in the air conditioning. So, standing out here, it's easier to describe what it really feels like out here. It's directly in the sun with all this humidity. You're going to break a sweat really quickly, even just standing around. We do have the potential for a few scattered showers and thunderstorms. Not a whole lot really showing up yet here on dual Doppler 5000 radar. We had a little bit of activity yesterday, some of that down in the Sandhills with maybe just a quarter to half an inch of rain. And then back up to the north, near the Virginia line, parts of Halifax and Northampton County saw 2.5 inches of rain, and another spot there in the northern part of Franklin County saw 2 inches of rain. But most of us really just didn't see hardly anything out of yesterday's system. So here's a look at the big picture right now. We are watching the remnants now of Beryl starting to move up through the Midwest, moving towards St. Louis and eventually Chicago. A lot of rain with this system still, but the winds are much, much lighter than they were. We're looking at the potential for some isolated severe weather overnight tonight when it was farther into the deep south around Louisiana and parts of Arkansas. There was some severe weather there, some tornado warnings and some severe thunderstorm warnings. Here's a look at Futurecast for us this afternoon. A few isolated showers and storms popping up. You see that around Fayetteville and then again up around, say, Durham and Raleigh. And then we get into the day tomorrow and a cold front moves through. So that's going to bump up our chance for some showers and thunderstorms for tomorrow. We'll watch that front start to move in later in the afternoon. This is tomorrow right around lunchtime and then into the afternoon. Not talking about a whole lot of rain on Wednesday, but as this front stalls, it will start to draw in more moisture from the Gulf and the Atlantic. That's going to bump up our chances for rain on Thursday and again on Friday. So you can see where the rain is from Beryl, from St. Louis to Chicago, looking at as much as another, say, 3 to 5 inches of rain. And we're also in that pocket of red here from unrelated to Beryl, tropical moisture that starts to roll in on Thursday. Here's how all that's going to play out. So here's Beryl moving up this evening into the Great Lakes, and then the cold front moving through, stalling, and then a low develops along it during Thursday and Friday, and that's going to help to push a lot more moisture in, and so we'll see more widespread rain, especially for Friday. So it's a 50% chance Thursday and then an 80% chance on Friday. Here's a look at some of the rainfall totals. We can see up to 1/4 inch on Wednesday, up to 1/2 inch on Thursday, and up to 2 inches on Friday. Add that all together, and some places are going to end up with as much as 3 inches of rain. Now, that will help us to catch up, but it doesn't erase the drought, and it doesn't look like we're going to have much hope through September of really getting out of our drought situation. We take a look at the Climate Prediction Center, and they're still going with ongoing drought for most of our viewing area, unfortunately. We'll enjoy the cooler temperatures when we see that heavier rain on Friday with a high of 84, but over the weekend, we are back into the 90s again.
All right, Elizabeth, thank you. A sandwich at a New York deli is in high demand, and the owner never saw this coming. Does this seem normal to you, or is it still weird?
No, this is super, super weird. It literally feels like a dream.
Coming up, how this creation has landed the owner in, well, a little bit of a pickle.
Here's a look at the winning Powerball numbers: 20, 22, 31, 33, 45. The Powerball is 1, the multiplier is 3.
We wrap things up with a look at a few of the headlines we're following for you today.
The North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services confirmed to WRAL that it is investigating Avante Devon. She is the